All right. Hopefully from the sense of that. I mean, I know Phil does most of the talking. That's par for the course. But you get a sense of Nanette's. The hospitality that she had in the church, the fellowship she had connected, interweaving herself within this body. Brian and I's first experience was when we came to the church in 2011, 2010, right around Easter of that year. Bri was on bed rest. So she had just got diagnosed. She was going to have to spend the rest of the pregnancy with Newt on bed rest. So I'm coming to church alone, or me and Mac most Sundays. Here I am. My wife's at home. She'll be here shortly. And then we start pretty shortly after getting people from the church coming in, just getting to know us by just simply visiting. And one of the first people to show up is Nanette with these ginormous sugar cookies on a plate. And so I think this is like Nanette's standard practice. Well, I found out early on in the church it was, but we've grown big enough at this point to where not everybody can get a plate of these sugar cookies. So I'm walking around the church going, who else? It seems like everybody's had Nanette's sugar cookies. I'm telling the new people come to church, yeah, just wait till Nanette brings sugar cookies, making this promise, which she can't possibly get to all of these people. You get a sense there of how her sweetness and her kindness just over and over had the impact of setting that kind of that trajectory and that fellowship within the body. So we certainly have experienced over the years we were here. If you other people that might have stories specifically related to Nanette that might want to share, give us some opportunities before we move on to Sunday school if we have time for that. But I thought some of you who have been here have traveled with the Knowles, have just spent years and years with them that might want to share some of these things, especially about Nanette. Yeah, Nida, if you want to try and use this, you're welcome to. Okay, prove it. When Nanette retired Nanette was the first secretary that we had here at the church, so helped Tony in a lot of those early years, still serving that way when I got here. And when she retired, I remember somebody coming up with the idea of giving her what performances down in Kansas City, down at the Symphony or something like that. I mean, that was the gift that everybody decided to give her just because of her love of music and her ability with it. Anyone else have something to share? Yeah, Daniel?
Well, we got cookies also, by the way, 2006, I think, or 7. But so these laminated note cards, pray for our kids. This one says 2016. I still have it in my Bible. And as the church was growing, Nanette was always very faithful. Even though it seemed like she was updating this about every 2 weeks to pray for our kids. Always had that before us. I remember being proud to be on the growth chart in Lowell's little
I mean, back to those bookmarks that she used to have some of those bookmarks printed. But even up to a month ago when we were seeing her, she was pulling out the paper out of her Bible that still had her marks of like this has got a new scribble new names of babies in here, and then next to this side, okay, this one's graduated. So I mean, even up to the very end, she was praying for all of our children, just without ceasing. So yeah, Jenny. Yeah, Alexander. Yeah, Kayla. Yeah. All right. Well, hopefully that. I mean, obviously those will be some more opportunities for some of that is in the coming, hopefully in the coming weeks and stuff. But I had a chance to show that video and yeah, give an opportunity at least for you. I mean, some of us to realize how vital she was for so many years of the church's fellowship. All right, let's use just a few minutes this week and next week. What I want to do in here is set the background a little bit before jumping into things about the Reformation. So when we talk about the Reformation, we're talking about Martin Luther, spiritual revival, what happens in the spread of really the recovery of the gospel throughout Western Europe, moving eventually, those of us who are English speakers, moving into England and spreading then eventually over to American colonies, the kind of effects that had. But the first question you've got to ask is where does a huge spiritual movement like this come from? what kinds of things are hanging in the background that allow it to happen. So first I want you to take, if you've got a handout, I know you can't necessarily read the countries that are on the back of this. This is a little map from 1500. So right at the turn of the century, and you can see that you can make out the Kingdom of France, and then to the east of there, what should be Germany and Switzerland and all of that kind of Central Europe area is broken into hundreds of little small kingdoms. So there is at this point no Germany. It's bunches of little countries. That's going to have a huge impact on why the Reformation spreads in the kind of way that it does. There's going to be bunches of other things that are factors, and so there's no. I mean, you could just go on endlessly about this. So let's see. All right. So if this circle is all the things that are going to happen in 1517 with the Reformation, when Martin Luther comes on, you can just start to begin to pick little different small kind of subjects and say, okay, what was happening in this area that would have influenced it? What was happening in political struggles that would allow the Reformation to take off? What would happen what was happening among the church? What was happening in the Holy Roman Empire? What was happening where the growth of economics and money? And you can kind of piece together different kinds of things. those that have become too radical in the Pope's eyes. And they probably are, and maybe need to be confronted. But that's the kind of situation all unfolding around the papacy. So there's one circle that we're talking about. Priests. You can see there the next point, Mariology, priests, mediators. We'll finish with this for the day. But so Mary, kind of all throughout the Middle Ages, is becoming kind of this greater and greater symbol of what humanity is supposed to be. She's becoming this kind of more held up, somewhere almost between human and angel kind of figurine, to where when you hear the term Immaculate Conception, it's not talking about Jesus's incredible non-sinful birth. It's actually talking about Mary's. So for her to be the God-bearer means that she must be born without sin. And so this is part of woven into what's a growing, they call it Mariology. But you can see there, she's actually called, even to this day in the Roman Catholic Catechism, a mediatrix, someone who mediates between us and God. So taken up to heaven, she did not lay aside this saving office, but by her manifold intercession continues to bring us the gifts of eternal salvation. So you have, even just doctrinally, this kind of growing, like, where is this coming from? Why is this continuing to be put forth in council after council or talked about by the priests? On top of that, you have corruption in the priesthood. Now, this has been a trouble among clergy throughout human history, but often priests are second-born sons. That's typically how the priesthood works. So your firstborn inherits the land. Your second-born, you don't know what to do with him. You need a high enough paying job for him, so he becomes the priest. So he's sent off, and so what happens is, so let's say this is Europe, and this is the area that priest number one is given to go be oversight. Well, I mean, it's a huge amount of land to cover. He's got a wealthy lord here, a wealthy lord here, a wealthy lord here, a wealthy there, and one more, and then you've got a giant sick colony in the middle. Where do you think a priest is typically going to be drawn, or where would any heart typically be drawn to make sure their ministry is most emphasized? Right? And you can just watch as priest after priest is so much more interested in the financial gain of being a priest. And there's actually a fourth Lateran Council where all of the cardinals get together and say, we need to designate priests specifically for leper colonies because nobody else is going to them. They never do anything about it, never actually set any priests forward. They even recognize their own problem and the need for reform. So this is the kind of environment of which priests are growing richer, and their actual work is falling to ruins. And you can go into the stories of especially when the Black Death hits in the 1340s throughout Europe, of how priests for a little bit of time would go and give the last rites to the dead, right? That's a huge sacrament within the Catholic Church to make sure that last unction is given to a person as they're dying. Priests just stopped going altogether for fear of being sick. Priests just stopped going in order at all. So this reputation of what a priest is and their spiritual benefit that they might be to the church as a whole is declining faster and faster and faster, leading up to the Reformation and people saying, no, this is the kind of person who should actually be in this office of pastor, elder, priest in a Lutheran setting. So this powder keg is just, we need to explore it for another week before we get to, okay, now when Martin Luther steps on the scene, this is what he's stepping into. This is why it explodes. All right,